Hey guys, how's it going? I'm out here on the west side of our house getting ready to do our second planting project that we had planned on this fall. We just recently planted this hedge of sprinter boxwoods that's right behind me, and I just love what it's done to this area. Just the addition of those has made it look like we have a plan. You know, it's been kind of empty for the past couple of years since we pulled out our privet hedging. I really haven't done anything. I planted a couple pumpkins in there. So it's been kind of wild and unkept. So the addition of this is just, it's been wonderful. Now I'm going to go in today with our second layer of plants that are going to be planted right behind the boxwoods, and I'm going in with hydrangeas. Here they are, and aren't they gorgeous? These are called Invincible Limetta hydrangeas. So they've got that beautiful chartreuse creamy green colored blooms, and they are going dormant right now. So you can see that they've got some fall color. They're not looking like, you know, at peak season, but we are already in November, so they are looking pretty darn good for that, I think. Hydrangeas and boxwoods are a match made in heaven to me. I just love a really tidy boxwood hedge backed by overflowing, abundant looking hydrangeas just full of blooms, and they bloom for so long. They're just that plant that just keeps giving, like they're always looking pretty throughout the year, which is amazing. So these are Hydrangea arborescens. So they're a Annabelle type hydrangea, but they're an improved version. They're fairly new on the market. I think they were released last year. They're a dwarf variety that stay about 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, and they don't flop. So the stems have been improved, like they're stronger stems, and they also bloom on new wood. So you know that we get a lot of snow here in Eastern Oregon. So if we get a huge amount of snow and they, you know, branches get broken or whatever, they will still bloom. They're also zone 3 through 9, which makes them amazingly winter hardy for those of you guys who live in colder gardening climates. I live in a zone 5, but I love the fact that they're a zone 3 because I just know that they're going to thrive no matter what comes our way. And it makes them more tough to plant later on in the season because we're into November right now, not the most ideal time to be planting. We're still, like, we're just going into some more freezing nights. We've had a handful of freezing nights, but hasn't gotten super cold yet. The most ideal time to plant is spring, obviously, and then early fall, where the plants have about 6 weeks to root in before winter sets in. But that's a lot of talking, so I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to show you where these hydrangeas are going. So there's the boxwood hedge, which I only mulched around those because I knew I was coming in with the hydrangeas. First thing I need to do is create my line. Aaron thinks I can just eyeball it, but things do not go well when I eyeball things. So I'm going to measure 17 feet from the house, and I'm going to actually run a string on the ground so I know exactly where these hydrangeas need to be planted. There's my measuring supplies, but I think I need to go grab Aaron to help me measure from the house. I don't think I can do that by myself. So now that I have my line all set on the ground, I want to show you how I'm going to space these plants. So let me get a few of them out on the ground. So it's kind of interesting on this side because I've got this huge juniper right in the center. So I'm actually going to start my spacing by just bumping one out a little bit on each side, and then I'm going to work that way and work the opposite way. So this is about where I want the first one to be. I don't know, is that like 1.5 feet or so away from the trunk there? And then I've got a 22-inch board. So I'm spacing all of these based off of the smallest projected mature size, which is 36 inches. And then I'm going in a little bit closer even than that because I really want a really full hedge. So I'm figuring, since this is an 8-inch can, that we've already got 4 inches from the center of the plant over, then 22 inches, which makes 26, and then 4 more inches there, so that makes 30, right? So 26 plus 4, yeah, 30 inches apart. And cutting a board makes it really nice because it's really quick, and then you know for sure you've got them all spaced perfectly. So let me do the rest of these and see what we come up with. All right, so that looks just about perfect. I have one of them right here that wasn't in a can because I had it in a container. So I just popped that out, so I'll plant that one there. Now I am about 1 short, so that's something I'll just have to add to my list for next year. And you can see that I also did decide to add about 4 inches in between each hydrangea because they just looked a little bit too close together, and I think they'll be happier just a little bit further apart. That way there's better airflow and they can grow a little bit bigger without intermingling so much together. I always struggle with spacing my stuff because I always want to space them really close together because I want a hedge like right now, but that's not necessarily the best thing for the plants. So that's why I added the extra 4 inches, because I feel like in the end, that will be better for the plants. They'll be happier. I do have a little space between the first hydrangea and the sidewalk, and I left it that way to keep my options open. Let me turn the camera around and show you. So that's where the last boxwood stops. So that means the hedge will probably stop about get lined up here, right here. And I did that on purpose because we are planning on widening this walkway. And so if I were to keep going with the hydrangeas, the next one would need to go about right where that rebar stake is, which is way too close. If we decide to wait on that project, or we decide not to do it, I can always put like a little skinny topiary right there, evergreen topiary or something, but I think another hydrangea would be too big. All right, so now I'm gonna plant them. All planted, and I think they look super pretty. I can't wait to get this whole area all mulched. I think that's going to look even better. So the next step is to get these hooked up on water, even though the water is off. I want to have all of that in place before I put a layer of mulch down. That way in the spring, I don't need to worry about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap into the line that I already ran to the boxwoods. I'm going to put a Tcoupler in here, and I'm going to run just some 1/2 inch black poly tubing from that T, and I'm going to run it right behind all of the hydrangeas here. And then I'm going to use this tool right here to pop a hole in the poly tubing, and then I will put a 2 gallon per hour water emitter in that hole. So each one of these hydrangeas will get a 2 gallon per hour, and we'll adjust it if we need to next year. And I'll tack down the poly tubing with these landscape staples right here, just every once in a while, just to keep it nice and like tight to the ground there. I might have to, we'll have to see what happens when I get to the pine. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to put in a couple elbows and run around the backside. We'll just have to tackle that when I get to it. So here's my Tcoupler. So I'm just gonna make a cut right here and connect all the pieces. Perfect. That worked out perfectly. So I don't have the emitters in yet, but the tubing runs right behind all the hydrangeas, and then it swoops in front of the juniper and back behind the hydrangeas again. So now that we're at the end, I'm going to actually cut the tubing and then close it up using this. So you slide this on one side, bend the tubing, and then slide it back up, just like that. And it just kinks the end so no water can come out. So now I'm just gonna punch a hole in the tubing using the punch tool you can see right there. That's what makes the hole. And then I'm just gonna push my emitter in, and I push the black end into the black tubing. Just like that. Irrigation is in place, and I watered them in really well. Before I put the mulch down though, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of clean up this edge of grass just so it's not like messy. I just want it to be nice and tidy. This grass is going to be coming out, but we have a giant section to work on next year. So as long as this looks clean, I think I can live with it for a while. Sod removal is probably my least favorite garden chore. Thankfully, this isn't a very big job. And I'm just going to use my straight edge shovel to do it. That new line looks so much better. And I put the sod in these buckets and got them way too heavy as per usual. So I texted Aaron and asked if he could come out and help me lift those. And then on this side, oh, there he is. On this side, I also cleaned up the line, but the grass is a lot more sparse. This area right here that you see where the grass is really patchy, as well as right here, was where we had it trenched up on both sides. It was 4-foot trenches to get new water lines run from the house as well as electrical. So here's hoping that, good. Oh, thank you. I like it. I hope that this grass, well, I guess I don't hope if this grass fills in because we want to remove it.
Yeah, it'll come out
eventually. But in the meantime, it'd be nice if it was pretty.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got these buckets too heavy right here. So if you could help me get them into the trailer, that would be awesome. So now it's ready for some mulch, which is the very last step, and it's a really good idea to mulch both boxwoods and hydrangeas because they're both fairly shallow rooted shrubs, and it's really good for everything else too because it does help insulate the root ball a little bit better, it helps keep moisture in the soil, and it does help suppress weeds as well, which we all need more weed suppression in our lives. So now let me get the mulch down and then we'll see what it looks like. All right, it's all done. And doesn't the mulch just change the look of this area? It just makes it look so put together. I love it. I love having the cleaner edge over here, and I can imagine what it's gonna look like when we get the bricks in. I'm hoping that happens in the next week or so. But I think that this area is just going to be so glorious as these plants grow and fill in. So the last thing I wanted to mention about the limettas is when to prune them. So the best thing to do is to wait until the new growth starts to come out in the spring, and then you go in and cut them down by about 1/3. So you take 1/3 of the plant away, cut out any dead, and that will help keep a really strong base and sturdy stems, and it will encourage new growth, which means new blooms. And that is it for today's project. I hope you enjoyed seeing this area come together, and I am so excited to show you guys this spot next year. I'm thinking I might pop in some annuals or maybe seed some flowers in here just to kind of fill in the extra space until the plants grow. There's a lot of opportunity in this area, I think. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.